Also keeping track of the fallout from this a scare today when a lot of people woke up this morning. All they knew is that entire air system was down in the United States. It's back right now after hours where air travel was frozen. But it certainly rang a bell to our next guest. Nancy Mace said that her children were stranded by Southwest getting home for Christmas. I hope they got home, Congressman. But good to see you and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, Neil.
All right, well, this was that on steroids, I guess. What do you think of the way this all went down today? A computer glitch, we're told. No backup systems in place. A mess.
Right, and right on the heels of the Southwest Airlines debacle,
right.
I think it really shook up the industry today. Number one, I want to say safety is always first. If the FAA needed to halt flights for an hour and a half, then so be it. But we also heard today from Secretary Pete Buttigieg that there were already redundancies built in, but if there were redundancies built into the systems, then why did it look like or feel like there was a single point of failure that brought down thousands and thousands of flights all across the country? And so what I'm going to be doing tonight is I'm going to file a bill that would require Pete Buttigieg to fly commercial until these issues are figured out, both with Southwest Airlines, with the FAA, and until the FAA reauthorization happens later this year. He ought to live by the same rules that every American does, so he can feel some of the pain and pressure that they do, because they shouldn't have to be worried about flying out on a random Wednesday morning and be feared that thousands of flights are going to be canceled.
But we do know that, I know in your daughter's case dealing with coming home on Southwest, I mean, we later found out, Congressman, that their technology was not up to speed. That seems to be rampant among the industry. And now even at the FAA level, that's what the infrastructure funds that, were ponied out were supposed to address. Obviously, it just happened. But is that built into that spending when it's when it's actually spent?
Well, what I would like to see is an audit of the funding that the FAA has received, and even at the same time, Southwest Airlines. If we're going to hold Southwest Airlines' feet to the fire on technology glitches that they've been having in legacy systems that brought down their entire airline, so too should we hold the FAA to the same standard. So at this point, it's still pretty early in the process, but I would like to wait and get a briefing, get an after-action review or report, and see what actually happened. Was this a cyber attack? Was it a hack? Was it not? Was it legacy systems that need to be upgraded? And if that was the case, why wasn't it done sooner? The same questions I have for Southwest Airlines, I will have for the FAA as well.
There was a move afoot, if you don't mind my ping-ponging here, Congresswoman, over the fate of George Santos, the Long Island, New York Republican congressman, of course, who's been disgraced with some lies after lies after lies, so much that the Nassau County Republican Party is thinking about booting him and telling him to leave Congress. There's even growing doubts whether they can do that. We know that Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker, is not putting him on any key committees. You yourself had said that Santos would be very difficult to work with. How do you feel now?
Well, I feel even more emboldened by what's going on. I learned after I said those remarks a few days ago that he allegedly had his campaign manager impersonate the chief of staff of the now Speaker of the House to raise money for his campaign. Whatever the standard is, whatever the standard we hold the left to, we should also hold ourselves to. This is a place where this person, he literally made up his life story and his resume up until just a few days ago when he changed his website bio. This is not someone that can be trusted. It is a problem for us, something that needs to be worked out. And if we're going to kick Eric Swalwell off his committees for intel because he's been potentially compromised by someone of the Chinese Communist Party, then so too we should take the same keen eye to George Santos in this case with committee assignments until I'm assuming there'll be criminal investigations and also an investigation by the FEC, because there are a lot of questions about his campaign expenditures, whether he paid rent to himself out of his campaign account, et cetera. And so that'll take a few months, but I believe the process will clear up the challenges we're seeing right now with his swearing in.
You've been very frank taking on some of your own Republican colleagues. You had said Florida Congressman Gates, maybe after this entire battle back and forth and the multiple votes and the speakership, what have you, called him a fraud. Do you still feel that way? Can you work with him, though?
Well, when you have someone who holds out the speaker's vote, because every time he voted against Kevin McCarthy, he was sending out a fundraising email, taking a constitutional process and clearly politicizing it for political gain, monetary gain, stuffing cash into his campaign coffers. Yeah, I've got a problem with that. And I am someone who holds both sides to the same standard. I don't like to see hypocrisy, especially when it's within my own party. We have to hold ourselves to a higher standard. It was not easy to get into the majority, and we've got to show the American people that we can work, that we can reach across the aisle where we have agreement, and actually work and deliver results for the American people. I take that job very seriously.
But he got what he wanted. A lot of people have taken a look at these rules changes, say they like what they see, and it's good. Do you agree?
Well, one of the pieces of misinformation out there is they didn't get a lot of rules changes. The rules package we voted on Monday night was almost identical to the one that Kevin McCarthy introduced. The only change or the only difference to it was on the motion to vacate, which went from 5 members down to 1, which was a precedent that was set for 200 years pre-Pelosi, and everybody was fine with it.
So can you get along with Congressman Gates?
Well, that's still to be determined. I hope that everyone in the conference can work together, but I don't have an answer on that right now.